what's up, people? So, this is the non-lawyer coming back at you again with a quick R. Kelly update. R. Kelly has been reportedly injured in prison and as a result is said to be trying to use the injury to get out of traveling to New York for an upcoming restitution hearing involving his victims. Kelly's legal team asked the judge on Thursday, September 15th, if the disgraced singer could appear virtually at the forthcoming hearing, which was scheduled to take place on September 28th, according to documents obtained. Kelly injured his leg, making it difficult for him to move around. So, first off, unless you're going to a trial or going to a hearing, I don't see the need for anybody to be traveling anywhere for, these, routine, showings. That's what Zoom is for. I mean, we are in a technology age, and traveling to and from, these locations that are far apart is basically unnecessary and obsolete. It's probably going to hurt the airline industry. It's probably going to hurt, the travel industry. But people, Zoom is here, so there's no reason for this man to be traveling to New York for a routine hearing, right? And then it goes on to say, undersigned counsel writes to respectfully request the defendant Kelly be permitted to appear via Zoom for September 28th, 2022 restitution hearing. Attorney Ashley Corn wrote, Mr. Kelly is currently housed at the Metropolitan Correction Center in Chicago, Illinois. Mr. Kelly has sustained an injury to his leg that makes traveling challenging and uncomfortable. Cohen added, furthermore, a significant amount of resources would have to be utilized to have Mr. Kelly flown in from Chicago to the Eastern District of New York for his hearing. For the reasons, the defendant respectfully requests that he be permitted to appear via Zoom for the hearing. The government has no objection to this request. And, let's face it, I don't know what his lawyers has filed on his behalf in terms of, this restitution hearing. I actually had some ideas, right? So I have a couple of videos where I talk about the restitution hearing and them taking R. Kelly's money. And one of the ideas is that he could potentially have Jocelyn appear at that hearing and essentially just say, hey, look, me and R. Kelly have been in a relationship for a long time, and part of our agreement is that R. Kelly would take care of me for life. That was a verbal contract between him and I, and because of that contract, I am entitled to some of this money. And the restitution process is actually not called the restitution process. I'm at a loss for words right now, but there's a post-conviction process which involves the taking of money of people who have been indicted. And in that process, it allows for people to come forward and basically try to claim money that's going to be taken from the person who has been convicted. And I think, it's worth a shot to have Jocelyn come forward. I don't know what R. Kelly's lawyers are going to try to do about the money being taken. I don't know if they're just rolling over and giving it up. I don't know what the deal is, right? So maybe that's something I'll look into later. And then it goes on. While it's unclear how Kelly injured his leg, the injury was sustained a day after he was convicted by a federal jury in his hometown of Chicago. The ignition crooner, I don't know why they call him a crooner. He doesn't really look like he's an old man. He's not like he's 80 years old and he's decrepit. Anyway, had already been sentenced to 30 years behind bars in New York and is still facing criminal charges in Minnesota, which have remained on hold during his federal trials. The minimum sentence for the charges in Chicago is 10 years. So this is kind of funny because they're mentioning Minnesota and maybe they just completely forgot about the state charges in Chicago, or maybe I'm out of sync. Maybe the state charges in Chicago have been dropped and it's no longer on the table. If you guys know, let me know. Drop questions or comments below. Then it goes on. R. Kelly's New York court date also comes after the New York judge demanded that $28,000 he collected in an inmate commissary, screen jumped here. $28,000 he collected in an inmate commissary be seized from the account and used to cover a portion of his $140,000 court fines and as part of the paid restitution for the victims. He now reportedly has $5,000 to his name. So this is the reason I wanted to make this video, because I wanted to kind of get back to this whole concept of sending R. Kelly money. But let me just first finish this article. Kelly's attorney Jennifer Bonjean tweeted that the move was unethical and wrote, after seizing his funds and after seizing this email, Eastern District of New York News decided to file a motion to confiscate his trust account money. You're supposed to do that before you take the money, right? And then it goes on and says, meanwhile, Freddie Gibbs said in the recent interview with Funk Flex that he plans to deposit some money into Kelly's prison account, noted that the singer is down bad. I said, fuck them like I love them. I told y'all I'd be joking. Fuck you, nigga. I'm the new king of R&B. He got to sit down. I'm going to put something on your books. Don't worry, Kels. I got you, Sylvester. And Gibbs said after performing in a freestyle, right? So Freddie Gibbs, I'm not really that familiar with Freddie Gibbs. The only thing I know about Freddie Gibbs is that I'm not really a big rapper fan. But the only thing I really know about Freddie Gibbs is that I think I was watching a few episodes of Power, which everybody basically say is whack. It's kind of whack. It's not like the first couple of seasons of Power. It just feels like kind of like a money grab. But, he's in the final seasons of Power, and that's all I know about him. But before then, I had really never heard about Freddie Gibbs. And I know this dude got a crooked eye. I don't know why he has a crooked eye, but when I looked at his photos, he doesn't seem like he has a crooked eye. Maybe he can get that eye straight, for whatever reason. I don't know what's going on with that. But in Power, he had a crooked eye. Anyway, so Freddie Gibbs is going to put money on R. Kelly's books. Freddie, don't do it. Don't do it, baby. Hold off for just 1 minute, because you can see that they're already taking money from this man. They're going to constantly seize money from R. Kelly. So what's the point of putting money on his inmate commissary when they're just going to take it? They're just going to take that shit. So what's the point? So basically, the other thing you need to notice is that at this point, he has too many judgments against him. He's got the judgment against him from the landlord. He's got the judgment against him from the New York case, right? And to be honest with you, I don't really know the full impact, and I don't think anyone does, of the restitution, because the restitution hearing, to my understanding, has yet to be heard. If I'm wrong, comments below and basically correct me. But from what I understand, they're basically taking the money to pay court fines. $140,000. How in the hell did you rack up $140,000 in court fines? That's crazy. And they're taking that money for the court fines, and they're taking that money in anticipation of the restitution. That's what I believe. But again, correct me if I'm wrong. I've been behind on some of this, so I'm just kind of piecing things together, putting bits and pieces together. But look, Freddie, don't do it. Don't send him no money. R. Kelly needs a plan. He needs a strategy on, number one, how he can actually get money in order to defend himself, right? Because let's face it, I don't think you need much when you're locked up. I could be wrong. I've never been locked up for an extended period of time. I have gone to jail here and there, but I've never been locked up for an extended period of time. And I think the most important thing for R. Kelly right now is having money so he can pay his lawyers, so he can continue to appeal a lot of these judgments that has been, put against him. And you guys know, if you don't have money to pay a lawyer, they're going to be up. They're going to be up. They're just going to bounce. And you're going to end up with probably a lawyer who won't do anything for you, or who won't be really good at his job. Maybe they'll have good intentions, but they won't be any good to actually make any difference. And of course, R. Kelly can't handle his own appeal because, they say that, he can't read and write, so I don't know if that's actually true, but, that's what's on the record, right? So the most important thing right now is for R. Kelly to receive money and to be able to pay his legal fees. That's the most important thing right now. And I actually saw other people make videos about R. Kelly and about how they're actually taking money out of his account. And I responded to those videos way ahead of time. Actually, I made videos before they even started taking money from his account. I said, look, don't send money to his commissary, his inmate account. Don't do it. They just going to take that shit. Guaranteed. They going to take it. And nobody listened to me. Nobody fucking listened to me. I said, all right, you basically just giving money to the government and you giving it to, his accusers, right? And again, I'm not biased towards, I am biased. I ain't gonna lie to you. I am biased. I am a supporter. But you know what? At the end of the day, he did lose. And I think there are some people that are entitled to that money and there's nothing you can do about it. So they're going to get whatever money he has that's on the books. So moving forward, from this point forward, R. Kelly needs a way to be able to have money so that he can pay for his legal fees. And this has always been a part of the government strategy. Basically, they want to bankrupt you so you can't afford to hire a lawyer. That's the strategy. And once you're in the position where you can't afford to hire a lawyer, now you have to take a government appointed lawyer who is probably going to be overwhelmed, or 9 times out of 10 won't even care. It's just another case that's on their books. They're going to make a few appearances so they can, get that on their resume. They want to have R. Kelly on their resume. And that's it. They don't care what happens, to R. Kelly. They don't care what's going to happen to the case. So when you don't have money, you're going to end up being taken advantage of, right? Even if you do have money, you're going to end up with lawyers who are going to show up and try to take advantage of you. So, it's a no-win situation. The legal profession has been around for ages. It is what it is. You have good lawyers out there and you have bad lawyers. I personally think, looking back at, this whole case, I think R. Kelly has had a mixture of both good lawyers and bad lawyers. And people are bashing these lawyers, but, they just don't seem to understand that a lawyer can only do so much. And the problem, in my opinion, is not necessarily just the case itself, but the things that are happening outside of the courtroom. In my opinion, the things that are happening outside of the courtroom is what's really killing R. Kelly, right? The documentary series and, the constant media attention, the negative media attention given to these cases, and him being invited to shows designed for him to speak on his behalf, but it's really designed to make him, to vilify him, right? So once you go into court after something like that has been done to you, there's only so much a lawyer is going to be able to do. That's my opinion, right? That's my own opinion. And again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just some guy on the internet with, an opinion, and you know what they say about opinions, so you take it with a grain of salt, but, I think there's only so much a lawyer is going to be able to do for you when you're in a situation where they have vilified you in the media for over 3 to 4 years, and now you're in court. Everybody has deep in the back of their subconscious that you're a monster. So hell no, you're not going to get a free trial because they're already coming into the case with preconceptions that you need to be locked up, right? So there's only so much a lawyer is going to be able to do for you. So nonetheless, you still need lawyers, right? And I think Jennifer Bonjean has done a good job thus far, right? Let me know what you think. And again, Jennifer Bonjean was one of those lawyers that's been dragged. I'm like, you can't drag everybody, but let me know what you guys think about Jennifer Bonjean. Was she a good lawyer for R. Kelly? Did she actually make a difference in his Chicago trial? Do you think she's going to get him off on appeal in New York? I have high hopes for Jennifer Bonjean. I told you what I thought about the Chicago case in the federal courts. I think it's double jeopardy because the New York case and the Chicago federal case, those are two federal cases that could have been had in one sitting, but you're breaking those cases up because you want to wear R. Kelly down so that you can basically win by depleting his resources. That's my opinion on that. And when it comes down to the federal case in connection with the Chicago cases, it's not double jeopardy. It's called successive prosecution. The state and the feds can charge you for essentially the same crime, and it's not considered double jeopardy, but it is considered a violation of successive prosecution, which is essentially the same thing, because the only thing double jeopardy is saying is that, hey, you shouldn't be charging a man for the same crime or crimes that you could have tried him in the first trial. And successive prosecution says the same thing, but the only difference is that the feds and the state can charge you because they're considered two separate sovereigns, or just think of it as two different countries, if you will, even though that's not the case, right? So that's why they're able to do it. That's according to case law and what have you. But when it comes to the state charging you and then the feds charging you, everybody knows it's wrong, and there's something called successive prosecution, and that is basically the cousin of double jeopardy, which is they're really the same thing, to be honest with you. And successive prosecution also applies state to state, right? So I think there is some chance that R. Kelly can even beat the federal charges in Chicago on appeal for double jeopardy, as well as successive prosecution when they hit him with the state case. And from my understanding, there's some good things that came out of that actual trial that's going to make it possible for R. Kelly to actually win on appeal. A lot of the witnesses were not credible. So there's a lot of stuff there, but none of it means anything if you can't afford a lawyer to go through everything and basically type all that stuff up and get it into appeals court. It's a lot of work, y'all. It is a lot of motherfucking work, to type up an appeal and to, get all your ducks in a row and line all that stuff up. And you got to be able to pay a professional to do that. You know what I mean? If you can't pay a professional to do it, then you have to be committed on your own to basically be able to do it. And to be honest with you, I don't see R. Kelly doing that. I just don't see him doing it. I mean, his craft is in music. And I think, to be honest with you, the average person probably could do it, right? It's just a ton of work. And if you're locked up, you have nothing but time on your hands. But I think R. Kelly, with the reading and writing issues that he has, I think it's going to be impossible for him to do it. And let me walk that back. The average person probably could stumble through it, right? But a professional, a lawyer, somebody who does this all day, every day, they're going to glide through it, and they're going to be able to basically make arguments that are going to be able to basically win the case, right? Whereas, the average person is going to be stumbling through everything and just trying to get a grasp of, what to argue and how to get everything typed up and formatted. So you really need a lawyer unless you're put in a position where you basically can't afford one. But I think in R. Kelly's case, if he doesn't have a lawyer, it's instant loss, right? Because of his disabilities. So with that all said, there's a simple solution to R. Kelly's situation. Very simple solution, and that solution is basically to create a trust for R. Kelly. So the way I see it is that the fans can come out, they can elect somebody to essentially be the trustee, right? You'll have a fan who's a trustee, and R. Kelly will be the beneficiary, and you'll have assets in the trust, being money, and possibly property. Whatever the trustee decides to do with the money, the trustee could buy property with the money, and basically R. Kelly would be able to afford his legal fees, right? And when it comes down to putting money on his commissaries, the way that would work, I would imagine, is that you can drip money into his commissary, and once he gets it and he utilizes it, then you can put more money in his commissary. So I would imagine something like this where, okay, you have a fan that will come out, the fan will create the trust, people will be able to donate to R. Kelly through that trust, the fan would collect the money, and the money would be distributed to whatever, it'd be distributed to R. Kelly and to his lawyers. So when it comes down to giving it to R. Kelly, I can imagine a scenario where you say, okay, I'm going to put $200 on your books, Kels. Let's see if you get that. Let's see if they take it. If they don't take it, then great. You take that $200 out. And at this point, I can't remember what the total amount they can take out per day, but you don't want to put too much money into his commissary. And, he take that money, buy what he needs, and that's it. And then another form of getting commissary to Kels is to actually do it. Instead of putting money into his commissary, what you do is that you send R. Kelly gifts, which is the equivalent of money, right? And I guess that's where they come up with the word commissary. For example, books are hot commodities in prison. People are locked up all day, every day, and they have absolutely nothing better to do with their time. So if you send R. Kelly copies of books, and I'm just brainstorming this right now, but if you send him copies of popular books, then that's almost as good as money. I don't know if they can actually have things like TVs, radios. They may be able to have radios and things like that. But if you send things like that, and I'm not even sure the prison would allow you to send radios and things of that nature, but the general gist of it is that by sending, actually, let me see. I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole. Can prisoners receive televisions in prison? Because my thought is that if you can you send a prisoner a television? Probably not. It's probably not. Yeah. We know they can have one. The short answer is yes, prisoners can watch TV in prison provided they abide by the rules and regulations in place. That's not what I was looking for. What gifts can you send prisoners? When choosing things to send to inmates, consider the 5 options to make your loved one's time a bit better. Letters, messages, commissary money, photos, books, magazines. Okay, so you're probably going to be limited to books and magazines, but there are certain books and magazines that are going to be more valuable than actual money. So photos. Oh, so wow, it is basically limited. But books, magazines, newspapers, those are going to be lifelines to prisoners, especially if you can send adult books and things of that nature. I doubt they'll let you send things like that, but books and magazines are going to be extremely valuable in prison, and you can basically use those to basically trade for other things, right? For things that you need, right? So I would say that you set up the trust for R. Kelly and you put small amounts of money into his commissary. This 20,000 that Freddie Gibbs wants to send. I think the best thing that Freddie Gibbs can do for R. Kelly is to establish a trust for R. Kelly and have one of his fans or one of R. Kelly's family members manage that trust and put small amounts on R. Kelly's inmate commissary, see if he gets it, and basically go from there, right? If you run into a situation where you can't get it, then you're going to be stuck doing something where you're going to send it to another inmate, and then that inmate can get the commissary to R. Kelly. I have no idea if this is illegal. If it is illegal, guys, you got to tell me right now. Comments below. But I don't see how it could be illegal. Um, and basically, you want to have a system whereby you can get money to this man without having everything taken from him, right? So that's the way I see it. I think if you can't put money on the books, then you send it to indirectly to another prisoner, or you just send them books and magazines, and those books and magazines will be worth more than money in prison because now you can trade and you can barter, right? So at that point, it's really just a matter of figuring out which books and magazines are desired, right? I think it's actually common knowledge that certain books are desired in prison. Most commonly read books in prison. A Life Inside, 48 Laws of Power. Actually, this is not the list that I was thinking of. There was actually some other books that I heard about. But anyway, I'm going off on the deep end here. But like I said, you figure out what people like to read in prison, and you figure out what would be, the best books to send to use for barter, and you send those books, right? And that material is just as good as money if you're in a situation where you have to barter and trade in prison. So that's it for this video, guys. Let me know what you think about the trust. Let me know what you think about putting small amounts of money in R. Kelly's account. Let me know what you think about paying his lawyers through a trust, because at the end of the day, he's going to have to find a way to pay his lawyers. And I think this could be the end of R. Kelly unless he establishes a trust, right? And again, I'm thinking that the trust can't really be touched because it's not something that R. Kelly owns. It's something that's being created for the benefit of R. Kelly by people who have no real connections to R. Kelly. And in my line of thinking, the courts would have to leave that money alone because it's money given to him by his fans and to be used for his greater good and not used to basically be able to pay, victims and so on and so forth. So let me know what you guys think about that. That's it for this video. Please like, share, and subscribe.